Hey y'all, and welcome to our garden. We hope that you will enjoy this part 2. As you can see, we're back again on our living wall or green fence that we premiered in part 1. Today we're going to show you some other techniques that we use.
Yes, we're going to move outside of this living wall area that we've created to protect our plants inside here to the more open pasture area where the deer are able to freely go by all of our trees. And we're going to try to protect those trees from deer browsing, but especially from those rubs where they rub the velvet off their antlers. So hopefully in this episode, you'll be able to get some ideas of how to protect your young trees from deer damage and enjoy the trees, the flowers, the plants, and the wildlife.
Yes, and it's great to be able to spend time in nature, so come along with us.
Here you are seeing a flyover of our open pasture areas along the lake and along our back gardens. We have newly planted trees in those open pasture areas.
Yes, here in South Georgia, as well as all areas across the country, in gardens, in rural areas, and in suburban communities, we're finding that gardeners are having to deal with deer more and more. So in part 1 of dealing with deer in our garden, we showed you how we are creating a green barrier or living wall to keep the deer away from that part of our garden. But on our property, we also want to garden outside our backyard, which is protected by the green barrier. We certainly want to do more than just garden in the backyard.
Yes, and deer have easy access to those trees. So how do we protect those trees from the deer who pass through here so frequently and have easy access? Well, now we will share our ideas, our experiences, and how we are dealing with deer in our garden.
Now I'm standing out in what we call our pasture area, and in the distance there you can see our backyard fenced area. Along it you can see the green trees and shrubs that we had installed in order to create our green screen or living wall that we premiered in our video of part 1.
So now we've moved into the open pasture, Belinda, and some of our trees that we planted out here.
Yes, and if you can see, here is a live oak, which is a southern staple. It's not very majestic yet, even though it is a nice tall specimen. But we're hoping that someday it will give a great shade out here in our pasture area.
Yeah.
But we knew that we needed to protect it from the deer.
We did. So we put up some stakes when we put the tree in to stabilize it and to support the tree. And then that's where we had the idea of maybe running this wire around it.
Right, and as you're saying, we did have to stake this tree because it was so large, and we do have a lot of wind coming across this open pasture area. So you installed the stakes. But as you were thinking about it, you thought we could use the stakes for a dual purpose.
Yes, so then that's galvanized wire run between each, couple of strands between each stake that will hopefully prevent the deer from moving in toward that tree and rubbing their antlers on the trunk of that live oak.
Right, and as a second layer of defense, we've planted some shrubbery around the tree. It serves dual purposes in the fact that it gives some shade to the tree while it's trying to beginning its growing season, gives a little shade, or socks as some people call it. And we also planted another layer in front of that, the abelias, which will stay a little smaller than the marble mahonias here.
And those mahonias will get very large and the abelia will fill in around them. And they both have flowers, don't they?
Right, and they can take shade, so once this live oak becomes more majestic, they will still be able to stay in this area.
And hopefully it will give us some interest too as this live oak grows and these Mahonias and Abelias fill in, it'll be like a little garden area around the live oak.
Right. So we're sort of doing a two-stage effect here with planting the shrubbery, but while it's small, we know that it's not going to be enough of a barrier to keep the deer from going out and rubbing on the trunk of the tree. So for a while, we have the wire connected to the post.
The support post, yes.
The support post.
So hopefully we've come up with a good idea, an experiment that maybe other people can use, but we'll keep you posted on how it works for us.
Right, and maybe we can add a portion in here, Mark, to show how you installed the wire and what are we going to do to be able to access the plants for weeding and those things. So hopefully you can show us that in another section.
I'll show you that on one of our other trees, yes.
And Mark, if you look here, you can see that this Marvel Mahonia is already beginning to produce its flowers. And the great thing about that is as the flowers emerge, this will be a wonderful food source for pollinators, a nectar source. And since it's there in the late fall, early winter, it's great for the pollinators because it gives them a source when there aren't many other flowers available. Then late in spring, those flowers will become little berries, bright purple berries that the birds enjoy. Also, we've found that even though Mahonias are often listed as part shade or shade plants, we found for us, even in South Georgia, they've done very well for us in full sun. And right now, till this live oak becomes majestic, they're pretty much in the full sun out in our open pasture.
And we've experimented with Mahonias, or planted them actually, every place we've lived here in South Georgia, and they've done well. From the front of a house in blazing sun, no shade at all, to under oaks on Skidaway Island, to right here in a pasture outside of Statesboro.
Right, and we've found that even the different varieties of the Mahonia do well.
And they're such a beautiful plant, and you're so right about the yellow flowers and then the great berries. They almost look like Concord grapes when they come out.
Right, and here we have 6 encircling this live oak, and we're hoping that they will become just a full circle, that when the plants are mature, they should actually kiss and be a great barrier around this oak tree. Also, on the Marvel Mahonia, the leaves are a little prickly, so I mean they don't hurt you, but you know, we're hoping that they're going to be enough to deter the deer.
Not quite holly-like, but similar. And hopefully, eventually, in several years, this live oak, as you said, will be growing out of just a mound or a hedge of Mahonia.
Right. So our plan is, or our hope is, that once these Mahonia become mature and produce a hedge encircling this oak, then we'll be able to remove the fencing, the deer fencing, and by that time the oak also will not need its staking.
Yes, very true. So Belinda, here we're showing how we're able to get past this galvanized wire easily in order to weed or to work around these shrubs and this tree. I've installed on this galvanized wire, as you can see here, a clip that I'm taking loose. It just snaps over the other wire, snaps off and on. Able to take both clips off fairly easily.
Right, and even I can do it. So yes, it's fairly easy. And you said these are clips that you can just get at your local hardware store or any big box store?
Yes, big box store, local hardware store, and see, they just clip right over. Very easy. You just twist the wire on one end and then clip it over on the other. But as you can see, it moves back easily off of everything so that you can get in to weed, fertilize, whatever you need to do inside the area.
Yes, we've already used it to go in and check to see if the irrigation is working and to pull out any weeds that we found.
And then when you're finished working, don't forget, it's like closing a gate. put your wire back. And close for deer.
So hopefully your plant is secure again.
Exactly. And everything is behind the wire.
All right, great tip. Well, Mark, now I see you're standing behind the large maple tree that we have located out in our open pasture area. And wow, this maple tree is at least 20 feet tall, isn't it?
Certainly is. And I want to demonstrate how we've got this wire. I know I already have, but taking the clip off of the top one and unclipping the bottom one, moving them away. But what I want to show you is one thing that caused some concern about this maple tree. You can see what looks like some damage here to the trunk and the bark. What I was concerned with, it doesn't look like deer rub, but I wasn't really sure what it was. So I've been trying to research it, and I was listening to Lauren and Aaron on Garden Answer, and they talked about maples being susceptible to sun scald. I believe that's what we have here is sun scald. So I'm going to take some steps to cover this trunk and prevent the sun scald as this tree begins to grow and mature, and hopefully this bark will continue to heal. Looks like it is doing so now.
Great. And that's one reason we need to be able to access the trees. Also, I see there are some weeds at the bottom of that tree, so I can easily unclip the wires and get in and remove the weeds a little later this week.
Certainly. Be a good job.
And as we can see right now, the maple tree doesn't have that second layer of shrubs planted around it because we need to give it a little tender TLC. And then this spring, we're going to plant some lantana around it, some that we're going to transplant from other places in our garden. We'll just plant the lantana around it to give it some socks and hopefully be a barrier, a second layer of a barrier to keep the deer out. Oh, this tree looks different, Mark. You have it with a little bit different setup. What did you do here?
Yes, this is a little different. This is a black gum tupelo. And what I've decided to do with this, we've had it in the ground a little longer than some of the other trees. It still has the staking here, but this is corrugated pipe. And this is something that landscapers often use and nurserymen use to keep deer off trees and protect them. So this is one way of protecting it if you don't want to use the galvanized wire that I've stretched around them. So this is protecting the tree from the deer rubbing, but it also is protecting that bark. So I'm thinking I'm going to use this same type of method on that maple to prevent sun scald or to help reduce the sun scald.
Oh, and that, I see now, that's the same type of corrugated pipe that you used inside our backyard on our fruit trees to help it protect it.
Exactly, the exact same thing.
And then what's this around it?
We have some loropetalum around the bottom of this tree to give it some socks, of course, but also to grow up and form a hedge, a very small hedge around it that will also protect the trunk from sun scald and also keep deer in the future as these shrubs grow up. Of course, they've got a few growing seasons before they grow large enough to keep the deer out, but that is our plan and our hope that they will help be a deterrent.
Right, so on this tree, we're using the corrugated pipe and the hedge that will be created by the loropetalum to be our defense against the deer.
Yes, hopefully the loropetalum will. And of course, as you've already mentioned about flowers, loropetalum have flowers and they're very, very beautiful in the early spring and late fall. And they have some beautiful fall color on them right now.
Right, so we're hoping this won't be a bed that requires a lot of work because we know once loropetalum get established, there are no fuss plants. And since they're out here in our pasture, we're going to be able to let them just go to their mature size and they can survive either sun or shade. Hopefully when this black gum becomes larger it'll produce some shade out here, and they will still get some morning sun or some afternoon sun, and they'll still produce some flowers.
Yes, and remember this black gum, we have one inside the fence, a cherry pie, and this is a variety that's a little different than the cherry pie that's outside, but it's a very beautiful native tree, and we're looking forward to seeing it grow and mature.
Right, we do like to plant as many natives as we can, along with other things that we enjoy, so that it is going to be able to survive well in our South Georgia sun.
Certainly, and it's a black gum Tupelo, so anyone who's ever had any Tupelo honey knows that it comes from Tupelo trees.
Oh, that's right. We
The
love
bees.
Tupelo honey.
We do. I don't think we're going to keep any bees and have Tupelo honey from our trees, but maybe some local beekeepers will get some pollen from their bees for Tupelo honey.
Sounds great.
And here along the property line we have two Silver Mist Sweet Bay Magnolias. They've been in the ground the longest of any of our trees. They were the smallest when we put them in. And the deer do browse on the leaves and the flowers, and they have rubbed the trunks. So we've put the stakes around them. They don't need supporting, but we put the stakes around them and the galvanized wire to keep the deer off. The tree in between is an Arizona cypress, Carolina sapphire, and the deer leave it alone. It has a very beautiful aroma, but the deer find it distasteful. But of course the Sweet Bay Magnolias they're attracted to, so we're trying to keep them off of the Sweet Bay Magnolias.
And now I'm enjoying being out beside one of our classic southern magnolias, the D.D. Blanchard. And it has the huge white blooms that are so fragrant in the summer.
So iconic in the South there. It's southern magnolias.
And it's one of our favorite trees. And if you saw one of our other videos, you saw that we did get this plant on the clearance. And it is performing beautifully for us.
We certainly did. We shopped it at Wise Nurseries, a local nursery. And that tree is probably at least 20 feet tall. And
So
it is filled
here-
in nicely.
Yeah, so here again, we're doing our double steps, 2 steps of trying to keep the deer off this beautiful magnolia. On the outer ring, we've planted our sunshine ligustrum, which we know perform very well. These are new, so they're not as full as they will be come spring. They'll be a beautiful chartreuse color. And we did plant 6 around here so that hopefully at their mature size, they will create a circle hedge around this magnolia. They will be able, the sunshine ligustrum will be able to grow in the shade of this magnolia. The color will be more green at that time when they're in the shade, but they should still create a beautiful hedge around this magnolia. Then also, we're using the staking post,
Support post, yes.
support post that we used to stake the tree when we first put it in, because of, again, the high winds that come here through our pasture. And we included the clips so that we can take the fence line down to be able to go in and weed or do anything else that we need to do around the tree. But hopefully in just a few years, the shrubs will be up high enough that they will create their own barrier and the tree will no longer need to be staked, so we'll take down the stakes and the wire.
Yes, and we've done this on this tree, hopefully to keep those deer out.
And here is that other D.D. Blanchard southern magnolia that we planted in the front of the house. We matched them up with the 6 sunshine ligustrum around them to create a barrier. And we've added the wire on the stakes that were supporting the tree. And what really prompted us to do this whole experiment was the very first year we had put these trees in, during the rubbing season, deer did come in and rub the trunk of this tree. We were so upset and we thought, well, we know we're in a deer corridor, So we've got to find some ways to coexist with the deer.
So hopefully this tree, it looks as if it's healing nicely, and it's putting out a lot of new growth. So I believe the tree is going to be okay, but hopefully we've prevented any future damage as this tree grows and matures and becomes such a big specimen that the deer will just walk right on by.
Right. And there are plenty of things in our area, even on our property, that we know the deer eat, and that's okay. That's part of what they have to coexist with us. But the plants that we have planted around our trees as barriers are so far deer resistant for us. The sunshine ligustum, the loropetalums, the abelias, we have found them to be deer resistant. And we've also learned that what's deer resistant in our area may not be deer resistant in your area. So you do have to be a steward of your own garden.
Yes. Belinda, here's the Nellie Stevens holly that, as you can see, the deer rubbed on, which was very surprising. It really did a number, breaking branches and rubbing there. If you can get a close-up in of that. This was out in the open pasture, and we thought Nellie Stevens holly, deer would leave it alone, but they didn't. So sometimes in your garden, when you're a steward or student of your own garden, you say, well, if I've got something in a spot where it's being damaged by deer, maybe I need to move it to another spot that's not as accessible. So this is inside our back fenced area, but you don't have to have if you don't have a fenced area, moving something up close to a structure sometimes keeps deer off of it. But this Nellie Stevens will rebound. She's been transplanted recently, and now she's protected from any deer damage. Again, surprising, deer typically leave a bushy holly alone, but they didn't leave this one alone.
Right, and I'm seeing that you have some white. Was that paint, a type of paint that's especially made for plants?
Yes, it is. It's a tree paint that if you've had some damage, that you can paint the damaged area, and it has some botanicals in it that will help heal that area, and also it protects it from any sun scald, because this tree's lost its outer bark and it's getting beaten by the sun, so that white paint will help. You often see in orchards trees painted white below their canopy, and that's to protect the trunk. So that's what we're doing here.
Right, and so now we dug her up, transplanted her here in this backyard garden where she's now inside the living wall or the green fence that we had installed. And then the field fence that we see behind her has vines growing on it. They're dormant right now, but vines growing on it, so that we'll have a living green wall of vines.
Yes, and hopefully once we're finished with this entire project, we'll have a green barrier that will surround this back garden area, and we've got our fingers crossed that we're keeping our deer out.
Right, so hopefully Nellie will be more protected here in our back garden.
Yes, so grow, Nellie. Belinda, it's always nice to sit on this back porch after a day of playing in the dirt and piddling around the garden with this view of the lake, listening to the sounds of nature around us, and having a view of this beautiful garden.
Yes, we really enjoy being able to sit on the porch and have such a wonderful view, being able to be out in nature and enjoy the fresh air. And we hope that you have gained some knowledge from our video of part 2 of some of the techniques that we use to deal with the deer. And so whether you live in the country as we do, or you live in town in a suburban area, hopefully you can use some of these techniques, because these are some techniques we used when we lived in a large community. And also, if you didn't get to see part 1 of the video, you might want to go back and look at that one for some other techniques we're using.
Well, I believe it's time for some sweet tea.
Sounds great.
Cheers from our South Georgia garden.
Happy gardening and good luck dealing with those deer.
You see here, our property includes a dam for the pond with a wooded area beside it. We are leaving that area as a natural wildlife habitat for deer and other wildlife. A pond, of course, attracts wildlife, and we embrace them. So we are leaving all this area natural.
Yes, and as we continue to develop our gardens on the rest of our property, we will also respect and appreciate the wildlife as we share this beautiful space with them. And please share with us in the comments section any experiences y'all have had dealing with deer in your garden. Also, if y'all have any questions, please ask us in the comments, and we'll be sure to get back with y'all.